You're live if you want to say something or call it. Adam should be here.
He's right there.
All right. Okay, it is 3:30. Let's get this Development and Planning Committee meeting started. Let the record reflect that all committee members are present. And with that, I would look for a motion for the minutes of October 22nd.
Meeting minutes for October 22nd as written.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. This will be up for a later agenda.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, moving down to number 4, public comment on agenda items. You will have up to 3 minutes if there's anybody here that would like to speak from the public. If you do so, please present your name for the record, and then we'll move on from there. So is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak? All right, go ahead and please state your name for the record.
Do I just stand or sit?
More welcome to come join us at the table. You can sit there. Whatever.
Okay, I think I'll just stay here. I'm Abby Deno, and I'm a local artist, activist, ecologist. And so I just came to speak about how we need to invest in our ecological infrastructure in town. I think that the trees that are slated to be removed from Fenner, it's a terrible loss. The city will continue to lose its mature tree canopy to development and infrastructure projects. And also just to these superstorms that'll blow up and knock down a bunch of trees all at once. This is not going to stop happening. So the ecological infrastructure that I'm talking about includes reducing the amount of land that we mow and increasing prairie plantings that are maintained. I just feel like I'm talking to you. And having microforests that are maintained by people that know how to do this work. There are people in town, including me, that know how to do this work. I have actually started an ecological LLC, and I am working with the Ingham County Drain Commissioner on plants at his drain. Pat Lindeman just had a tour of the magnificent New Montgomery Drain lab to show other drain commissioners what is possible with this kind of work. He said that without the work of me and my team, none of it would have been possible, because if he would have taken these people around and all they see is a field of invasive thistle and the beautiful, charming waterfalls are all blocked from sight by invasive reed, canary grass, and Phragmites, the drain not only ceases to function, but it ceases to be an attractive place where people can observe wildlife, can get to know native Michigan plants, and have this beautiful green space that feels open and accessible to them. So it's a quality of life issue. It's a Michigan cultural issue to make sure that we maintain our green spaces and invest in them. It also helps to lower the temperature in these ever increasing global warming times. That trend is also not likely to stop, according to science. And so the mowers that you go over these turfgrass lawns with emit so much more pollution than a regular car. The leaf blowers do too. There are different ways to care for our land. The turfgrass is also hydrophobic, meaning that the water does not soak into it due to the lack of depth of roots. It runs off into rivers, lakes, and eventually the ocean, and it doesn't recharge our aquifers. These are all problems that we are going to have to deal with as a community into the future. And so I would just like to present myself as a person that's solutions oriented and that is actively working on these issues, and would work with anybody in this room, regardless of political affiliation, because I care deeply about my community and our shared ecosystem that we all collectively add to the pollution in it. So it's our responsibility to take that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deno. And I know you spoke to council before, and I appreciate your ecological activism. You know, I mean, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me speak. I actually do have to run out to work on these projects right now, so I'm sorry to miss the rest of the meeting, but I really do appreciate all of your time. Good to see you too. Hopefully I'll be able to connect with some of you again in the future. So.
Thank you. Who else do we have here set up for public comment? All right. Whoever would like to. Ladies first, how about that?
I'm Joyce Galloway. I guess I'll just sit down. I'm here to speak to the easement along Fenner and Evergreen Cemetery. And I would hope that we as a city wouldn't agree to the Consumers Energy proposed easement unless we are able to get them to agree that any future projects on that 15-foot strip would go through the same legislative process. And also, I think that the other point I wanted to make was that I'm not sure that we've done a careful evaluation of what might be removed with this project. And I think we need to think about using our city staff. Irene Cahill comes to mind, to make sure that we've done a proper evaluation and that the city is getting appropriate compensation for what we're giving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Name's Eric Almquist. Mr. Garza, congratulations on your plan. I'm here for the trees, and I know you're a big fan of the trees. And so what I've done is I love witness trees. So I'm like, I brought my prized possession. It's a witness tree part from Gettysburg, Abraham Lincoln. We look at the witness trees here. There's Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Jackson that predates those if it's at a flat 200 line, but most likely these trees are older than that. The problem we run into is the rootstock is about a foot per inch, which is going to cover that entire easement. So how they would lay a new line down there without hurting that, I'm not sure how that would happen. I've reached out to the Spartan Sierra Club. I reached out to the MSU Sustainability Office, and there's a lawyer who deals with trees and utilities in Grand Rapids. Reached out to, just waiting for some feedback on that, so we can get some protection for those trees. The second part of my story here is with Consumers Energy. I was one of those people when they replaced the meters. They sent us a $5,000 bill because they've been estimating for 4 years. So we worked out a plan. I said, here's the deal. I want to make sure that we're on the right path. The next time you come out, you do an actual reading. They estimated again. So we're able to wipe out all that money. So I don't trust what they say they're going to do because they have a history of not doing what they say they're going to do. That's my biggest concern.
Take your comments. Thank you. Next public comment.
Loretta Stanaway, and I've got several points that I would like to make. But first off, and most important, going back to the draft from last time, if there's no new draft, which I have not seen one, then I would suggest that the draft be amended so that it reads on the back of the second page where it was highlighted in orange, the third paragraph, restoration. It should read, consumers determines that it needs to further disturb or modify above or below grounds the owner's land in furtherance of the purpose of this easement. Consumers must first provide notice of the intended disturbance or modification and may not proceed until it has received permission from the owner by going through the legislative process appropriate at that time, whatever that is. Now it's planning, development and planning, city council, mayor. If 20 years from now, there's some other legislative process in place, it would go through that process so that we preserve the citizens in the city's ability to have an impact and an effect on what happens. The goal is to make sure that no future alterations to the landscape above or below ground without first going through the legislative process can occur. This does not stop them from doing anything they need to do in an emergency situation. I think it would also require going back to the first page to the very last subcategory, trees and other vegetation. And it would require eliminating the sentence that reads, consumers shall have the right from time to time hereafter to enter owner's land to trim, cut down, and otherwise remove or control any trees, brush, roots, or other vegetation within the easement area. Otherwise, if they came in now, which we still don't have a definitive answer as to whether or not the brush line would be removed and or replaced, the fence line would be removed and or replaced. If they brush cut that whole thing down and 5 years from now, they want to go back in there and brush cut that whole thing down again, we've again lost the habitat, the access barrier, lost sound and visual barriers. So we want to protect whatever's going to be there after this initial installation is done from being altered without first coming through the city to say, okay, this is what we want to do. And the city is saying, citizens, city, you have input, you agree, now they can go forward, or no, they cannot go forward. There are so many issues. I live on the right of way to Consumers and Board of Water and Light high tension lines. I've lived there 40 years. So I have personal long-term experience with dealing with those two utilities. And I can tell you from that personal experience, they often do what they said they would not do, and they often don't do what they said they would do. So in my estimation, I don't have a lot of trust or belief in their reliability to take their word as what it's given as. Also, we need to talk about how they value the trees and whether or not trees are being appropriately priced out at 500 per. And whether there's any way to stipulate in the agreement that the resources generated by these rights of way sales or leasing or whatever you want to term it, the 17,000 or whatever it is they've talked about. Is that sufficient? And if it isn't, what is? And whatever the amount is in the end, is there a way to stipulate that that money gets directed to being used in the cemeteries rather than just dropping into a general fund hole in the wall? So these are concerns. These are issues that we have. We have not had solid answers to some of our questions. We still don't know at this point if the brush line's going or staying, if the fence line's going or staying. These are serious concerns. And we would like to have an answer, a clear answer. And we're also very aware of the fact that there's only another meeting or two that will happen in this calendar year. So we would like this issue resolved before the end of the calendar year when new people come onto the committee in the next year and may not have the same information or attitudes that the current members have.
Thank you, Loretta.
Thank you.
Okay, we went over a little more time on that one, but do we have any more public comment at this time?
I just want to reiterate what she said.
Can I get your name for the record?
Therese Ojibwe. I can spell that for you if you want.
I think you were at the last meeting, so we have it. Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Is there any more in-person public comment? All right, seeing no more in-person public comment. Do we have anybody online that looking to speak? Okay, no one online. All right, we will move down to the discussion action item B, a resolution to appoint Selena Mate, at-large member of the Historic District Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2027. Is Selena here?
It confirmed initially, could do October, so specifically chose this one. So I will reach out to her again, and we have another meeting in November, so
Okay.
I'll invite her to the next meeting.
We slide this to the end just in case she shows up.
Yeah, and that's fine. We can do that. Be willing to entertain that. Okay, so we will move down to C, a resolution to set a public hearing on obsolete property rehabilitation act, Oprah District 323 to 327 South Washington Square, Wormwood LLC. Good evening, Mr. Klein. Do we have anybody from,
And that's what your PowerPoint handout is also.
please join us at the table?
Hi, everybody. My name is Val. This is my business partner, Ferg.
Hello, hello.
Did you guys sign in?
Yes, we did.
Okay, good. Then I've got everything I need.
Well, I'll open the floor up to you guys, whoever wants to start, explain a little bit about your project here, and then we will open it up for questions from the committee.
So let's do a really quick review of the process and then hand it over to Val and Ferg to explain a bit more about who they are, what they do, and what they're planning to do. So this process is very similar to the other Oprah requests currently before you. They are seeking the establishment of a Oprah district. So this would not be for the certificate yet. This would just allow them to seek that at a later date. And again, similar purposes here as they are going through the buildings, potentially having to resolve some immediate issues. Don't want to disqualify them from potentially seeking the Oprah program here. So again, two-step process here, and would follow up hopefully with an application for the certificate at a later date. But with that, I'd like to hand it over to Val and Ferg to.
Cool. This is our first time doing anything like this, so just like excuse me if there's any blips in what we're doing here. But I just want to kind of tell you about how we got to the point of where we're sitting at this table and what the abatement could do for us. So we're emerging local developers. We are not big investors or outside corporations at all, just regular people that really worked hard to build something super positive throughout Lansing. And we're pretty much taking that and trying to reinvest it right back into Lansing. So our business, Devil's Day Tattoo, from the start, I don't know if any of you have heard from us. We've been kind of challenging older stereotypes about tattoo studios. We're focusing on like harboring a space that's safe, inclusive, genuinely enjoyable to be around. From the last few years, we built a really strong reputation in the community for not only high quality artistry, professionalism, but also community involvement. So because of this success and the positive response from the community, we've been able to purchase commercial property to be able to expand our tattoo shop and offer downtown a place for people to gather, live, and be able to grow their own businesses. This expansion will not only allow us to grow substantially as a business, but also create a community hub for like-minded individuals, artists, and small business owners. So our goals with this project is to revitalize part of historic downtown. Our commitment is to not only preserve the integrity of our historic building, but to just kind of breathe new life into them, ensuring they continue to serve for years to come. Not only expand our tattoo shop, but that will also create more jobs. Right now, we have 6 artists total. We're looking at about 13 just from that business itself. We're also able to provide a rentable space to another like-minded business. We have a storefront that we're not going to use personally. We're going to be renting that out to just another business. And also providing affordable housing, luckily overlooking downtown. We know, like, with the Ovation coming up and the, just downtown coming up in general, housing is a big one, especially on Washington Square itself. So we're just really trying to generally harbor a safe space that enhances the area's cultural value, attracting visitors and residents alike. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. So I guess it's 2 different buildings that are connected.
It's technically 2 parcels, but it's 3 storefronts with upstairs to each one of those. So technically 6 spaces.
Oh, okay, that's great. And all residential on the 2nd floor? All?
Our tattoo shop will be taking over part of the upstairs, so it'll be the 2 on each side. The middle of it will be an extension of our tattoo shop from upstairs.
All right, I gotcha. So you're looking at 2 residential
areas.
And will they be 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
Right now, our schematics are being finalized with our architect, and we're just kind of figuring out what makes sense as far as like coding, ADA, and all of that. So we have the potential for 5 units right now, but we're just, like I said, kind of finalizing that with the schematics. We just haven't gotten them back yet.
Well, thank you very much. And your Devil Tattoo business says it's occupied since October 2026?
Well,
Or it
Devil,
will be?
it will be, yeah. That's our goal, is to have our tattoo shop expanded out into our space that we bought by 2026 October. Because right now we are leasing our space next to Strange Matter.
Great. Got any questions from the committee?
Yeah, I think just a little bit more clarity, and I don't know if this is you, Chris, but in terms of current conditions, determinations in terms of obsolescence, why this qualifies for the program.
Yeah, so right now, the buildings themselves aren't adequately prepped for residential use. Spoke to some of that as far as making sure that it meets all of the compliance, accessibility requirements for residential. There's also other materials within the building itself, I believe asbestos and other hazardous materials that were uncovered being an older building. But the previous Barron's, the window covering business was in there for many decades, and that's really what they focused on. But the residential components of it, the potential for that, have not been occupied as such for a majority of that time. So it's going to take significant build out to bring that into residential use. And then even for the commercial spaces to be able to break those up into multiple units and doing all of that work. I'm sure the assessor could speak to a little bit more about functional obsolescence, but that is my understanding.
Okay. I appreciate that.
How long has that been vacant for? When did Barron's go out of business?
It's right when we opened up in October of 23.
That would make sense.
Just recently.
Mhm.
All right. Councilman Cost, do you have any questions or comments?
So the obsolete reason, as I understand it, is it has an opportunity for housing that is not being utilized. That's what I heard, right?
So functional obsolescence is a determination by the assessor. I think there's multiple factors as far as, doesn't necessarily require a change of use, but in order to be used as what it's intended for, there's obviously certain barriers. And so meeting that threshold of being 50% more functionally obsolete. So the becoming residential, building it out for to be functional as commercial space, all of those go into that.
Putting it over the 50. Okay, got it.
along with all the hazardous materials that may be in the building, like asbestos or lead paint, that type of stuff, right? Okay, well,
And it looks like, and I appreciate you putting the timeline together, but it looks like what we're being asked to do is to send this out to council on November 17th to introduce a set public hearing would then be December 12th. Back to the committee on December 10th, and then we could take it up for final consideration on the 15th. Okay. I would move to set a public hearing for December 8th.
we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So we will set the public hearing on the 17th for December 8th. Are you guys able to attend for that December 8th meeting for full council questions and consideration?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Great, thank you. And then Sherry Bulk is our office manager. If you get with her, if there's any reason why you can't make it sooner than later. Thank you.
Yep, it'll be at 7 o'clock in this big the big city council chambers right there. Yep.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving down to resolution D. That is obsolete property rehabilitation app, Oprah District at 1204 South Washington Avenue, Little Rock Ventures. We had our public hearing on Monday. So thank you for being here again. You guys have anything you'd like to add to this other than what was stated on the public hearing on Monday?
Just that, we feel that it's in line with the city's master plan. It brings a lot of cultural value to the community. I think you're only as strong as the existing commercial and residential occupation around you. So the fact that the block is basically half empty, and a block away, we've got, Blue Owl, all of these other businesses that have, that are fairly thriving on that block. I think adding more life to that next block down in that corridor, which is poised for a lot of growth, would help tip the scale a little bit for that momentum, that strength of that community, that block to, uplift the neighborhood even more so.
And I appreciate that.
Come on in.
I think
There's a couple seats over
Max
there.
mentioned that on Monday night too, that it's almost what's the word I'm looking for? Contagious. You see people investing in the properties, and next thing you know, you see someone out mowing their yard and taking care of the property adjacent to it. And we're seeing more and more of these Oprah requests that people are actually wanting to invest in some of these old buildings that have been dilapidated for several decades. So I appreciate that. Any additional questions or comments from council?
Yeah, I would just comment as someone who represents Rio Town. I mean, this is great because that section and space has been, even since I was a kid, has kind of been the odd child in that whole area where they just really couldn't keep a business since Pop Off Meat went out of business. I won't say how many years ago because I'll age myself, but there just, hasn't been those storefronts. So I'm excited to see that this block is getting activated because you're right. Everything north of that on Washington has been activated, and even stuff south of that has started to become activated. Rio Clubhouse, for example, I was just at last week. So I think that that's a great spot to connect those two pieces. And I think that there's probably further opportunities even further to the north towards the river to connect into downtown as we move down. But this is a great first step. So I'm excited that you guys are taking interest in doing this, and I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this, what your finished product is.
If you do want to walk by there, I did hang a piece of my art in the window, so it is technically an art gallery as of now. So, I don't know if people will notice because most people are looking at their phones, but I just thought it was kind of a fun, like point of intrigue, oh, what is this? Just something to beautify an otherwise kind of obsolete,
If that's the definition of an art gallery, my fridge is an art gallery.
There you go. Yeah.
Just don't start work. You don't want to risk the district.
Right, then I would move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes, and that will go to full council for a vote on the
17th, next Monday.
Now, will you be there in case there's any further questions? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, now moving on down to Resolution E, obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, Oprah District 414 Baker Street, Maximilian. How you doing, sir?
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you being here at the committee again today. Is there any further comments or anything you would like to add?
So I guess I'd like to extend my gratitude for this program, not just for myself, but for my other presenters. I think that it is a necessary, great opportunity to try to redevelop these older properties. So I appreciate it very much, and I hope that the public agrees.
No, I appreciate it. I think without an Oprah district, it's not feasible. I mean, it's quite a bit of investment, you know, $400,000 for yours is what you're anticipating spending there. So I appreciate you as well and the work that you've done across the city so far with bringing other dilapidated properties back to life. Thank you.
I think just real quick, I'm sure you want to talk about it. And this really is to all of our applicants that are here. This is exciting to me. I spent a lot of time in other municipalities, particularly urban core, throughout the state just to see what they're doing, see what the trends are. And it's, for some time now, right? We've seen, whether they're single site locations, whether they're entire blocks of blighted buildings. We're seeing, these tools, or we've seen these tools be utilized to reverse that deterioration and to help move some of those communities forward. And for a long time, we've had the tools in the toolbox here for a long time, obviously, but we haven't necessarily always had the people to step up and actually utilize those tools. And so to see the Lonzos and the Fergusons and being Desmond Ferguson and the applicants today, and I mean, the list goes on, folks that are, emerging developers, and they're excited to, kind of get after some of these problems in our community and advance our community. It's exciting that we finally have arrived at this point. So thank you. Truly appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate, this is I appreciate that you're investing in this part of town. It's kind of it's an interesting neighborhood wedged between Rio Town, Fabulous Acres, Baker to Nora. You have Corey's, you have Lucky's, you have Leroy's, all right there. And this, again, just because I spent a lot of my childhood in that very vicinity. My grandparents lived right off of Washington right there. This has kind of always been the odd duck there. That building's never really been anything. It's always been kind of run down since I was a kid. So I'm excited, as Councilmember Hussein said, to see these tools getting used, this Oprah getting used to utilize this building. And it puts growth into the neighborhoods, the Fabulous Acre neighborhood, the Baker to Nora neighborhood. I see there's other development happening over there further down Baker. So as I think Councilmember Garza said earlier, it's contagious, and it's very clear to me that I'm seeing these little buildings that have kind of been scrapped out for multiple years, all of a sudden getting new life. So I'm very excited about that. I appreciate it. And with that, I would move the resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, aye. And that passes unanimously. That will go to November 17th for a final decision. Will you be there as well, Max? Okay, great. All right, thank you so much. All right, moving down to item F. That is the Resolution Act 3, 2025 Utility Easement at 2020 and 2600 East Mount Hope Avenue for Consumers Energy.
Adam.
I would move to untable, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
Okay, that's right.
I thought you just.
And give it the program. We get the program, brother.
Sorry.
We
I'm shuffling papers.
Okay, so we have a motion to untable this. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
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 Right, motion passes. Okay, now that it's untabled, it's back into the committee. Thank you for being here, Mr. Kaczynski. Did you want to add some, like, for instance, I believe Loretta asked about the trees, the money, where it goes. Does it have to go into the general fund? Can it go back into like the cemeteries? And then I know you mentioned something about a tree that needs to be come down. And I did receive an email. Our committee did today about a tree. Trying to find it right now.
I think it was an oak over by Evergreen, right? Yeah.
Green entrance.
Yeah.
So this is you got the oak in the background of that Kriegel Park. sign? Do you know if that one is coming down?
There is the one that so our city forester went out there. Dominic Fucilo has been involved in this project, and that from the beginning. The one that he is speaking of would be further to the west of that. We're looking at closer to, and I think even a little bit west of the, what we call the campground entrance for Fenner. Has a large number of vines on it. That tree will need to come down here in the future. It is leaning in towards Fenner's property, so it's not like it is a danger right now, in his opinion, to come out over Mount Hope. But we did want to let everyone know, regardless of this, that tree will need to come out here. And that's the one that he was speaking about. We see no effect to that one.
Okay, so this one should stay.
It is not marked, and we do not see where the underground easement here again, minimum of 10 feet down to 36 feet would be compromising that tree. And he evaluated the entire area there again today. In terms of the money, we talked about that at the last meeting, that there is room if there is, it goes to the general fund except for enterprise fund situations, of which the cemetery is that. I have provided, what's that?
Do you have that number?
I mean, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I have provided the number in terms of the one tree, which is on cemetery property, that again is uprooted already, but still alive, that will be coming out, plus the amount for the footage of the easement that is evergreen. And I can look that up here before the end of the meeting, but I do have and did divide out that portion of the easement and the cost. The other thing from the last meeting, the question was, who does this line affect? And I sent that email. If you want me to read, I can read that.
Yeah, if you could for the record, please.
What they call the 1026 natural gas transmission line serves tens of thousands of consumers, energy customers in Lansing and East Lansing. And again, the question was, how do we differentiate? They cannot give the exact number because these lines are looped to multiple lines that serve the area jointly. Basically, most people who use natural gas in the Lansing area are benefiting from this line in some capacity. The Simons plant at MSU, and this is their power plant, is one of the largest draws on their turbine. So this goes to feed that. If this line were eliminated, the Simons plant would have to shut down. It would remove a key source of redundancy and resiliency for the entire gas distribution system in Lansing. They emphasize that the key thing is that this line is replacing the old existing line with a new pipeline, which we have talked about, and that it increases safety and reliability of the system for decades to come. And so I've answered the money on where does it go. I did want to emphasize about that tree that is coming out there. So otherwise, in terms of the larger trees, you have that one by the Kriego sign, and then you have a couple down, would be west of the entrance to Fenner. We have talked about that, but that again is the area where they will be boring under.
Greg, could you speak to any
Yes.
future work regarding
Yes.
some of our previous questions?
Can do. I've been in communication with consumers, various people with consumers, and even up until not too long before this committee meeting, getting this finalized. But I think we have language that works. I will say what gets added. So I don't know if you got these in front of you on page 1. And I have this all in emails saying, I'm okay with this language. If they're okay with this language, I will communicate. I'll send it to you all as soon as we're done here. What gets added is notwithstanding any, so this is under trees and other vegetation. Okay, owner shall not plant trees in the easement area. Consumers shall have the right from time to time to enter and trim and cut down, blah, 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 blah. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, following the initial construction and installation of the pipeline. So after the pipeline's in place, consumers shall not trim or remove any trees within the easement area, so that's their strip, without having first obtained a written resolution from the owner city council approving said trimming or removal. The foregoing shall only apply to owner's ownership of the land, meaning so long as city remains the owner of that property. So if we somehow sell all this to someone else, which would require many other acts of council and votes of the populace, then this would expire from the easement. They would still have their easement, but they wouldn't have to come get a resolution of the city council. And this is the language that was discussed previously. Said resolution shall not be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. And all that means is if they come forward and say, hey, we think this tree needs to come down for this reason, this tree on top of our easement needs to come down for this reason, council can't just say, cool, we'll never vote on that. And council can't say, I think you have a very good reason, but no, we don't want to. You would have to have a reason to say no, which I can spool out a number of hypotheticals as to how that works. But I think you all understand. The other part of this is that the language that was previously in restoration, and this is somewhat back and forth. I had some follow-up conversations with Council President Cost after the last committee meeting. The language that had been added to restoration is simply coming out because the restoration references already says that has to do with our land, not the area of the land on top of their easement. So restoration says, and it already does say, if they come in and have, if like, stuff gets disturbed, et cetera, on our land as they're putting the easement in, they will bring it back as reasonably as they can to its condition prior to them, like, driving over our grass in order to dig a trench or whatever they're doing. And I think that the way the project is laid out, this is a fairly, what's the right word? Specialized and focused way to put an easement in. They're not just digging it, they're not just cutting a trench and dropping a pipe in there. They're doing the directional borings. Right? With what are those check caps called every so many distances? That doesn't matter. Anyway, so that's the language that we are at. But I think, saying that there must be a resolution of the city council is about as direct as we can get to the point that was requested of it's got to come back and get a vote from the body.
Mr. Kaczynski.
I did find that amount, so $2,225 would be the portion for just evergreen. And that is $500 for the one tree and then $1,725 for the easement.
It's just for evergreen.
Just for evergreen.
That's the part that would go, we would need to amend the resolution to say that much is going into the cemetery enterprise fund.
Okay. We can do that. Right? Yep. Okay, and that will be ready for us if we take this to the body for a vote.
Yeah, we would have to modify the resolution like that.
We already have to do that anyways, because the legal language isn't correct.
The resolution, I think the language in the resolution stays the same. The easement, the attached easement is what's changing.
Do we have any additional comments from the body?
And I will say the language added after the pipeline, essentially they must come to council by resolution to do any more trim, or I think you mentioned trim, cut, alter, or remove.
Shall not trim or remove any trees within. I mean, that's what they're would otherwise be able to do.
I think that satisfies my concern about the 200-year-old oaks, making sure that we preserve those and the trees planted by Mr. Fenner.
Yeah, I think
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So with the insertion of that language, and I'm thinking of the tree that was subject to the earlier email. Right. So with the way that this is written and the way that agreement would essentially hold in place, could they potentially remove that tree prior to having the project done? And obviously that is representative of what could be a bigger problem, right?
But we agreed to were the trees that were marked.
Right.
And the amounts for that.
I get it, but because
that tree was not marked.
So what you're telling me is the way that this will be written and approved, that they could not, without permission from the city, remove as an example that tree.
Could you add that language?
Sure. Prior to the project being completed.
That would be extremely difficult to put it into the easement, because the easement is the thing that lives past the project getting.
Right.
done. I mean, okay, could they remove it? Yes. Could they remove it without our permission? No. Because right now, the whole thing has been brokered, and I mean, I'm saying we, and I'm pointing to Brett, but I'm not copied on all the email communications, the backs and forth defining how the project works, but I have to believe that is somewhere, because somebody came out and then marked the trees and said, these are the ones we gotta take out, these are the ones we don't gotta take out.
Yeah, and again, these were trees that we went out there, met on site, and we are specifically going up and down in different areas to avoid that tree.
No, and I get that. And just the way that you read the insertion of the language, I was just concerned essentially about the initial construction and installment, right? And what that might look like, but it sounds like we're good.
Yes, I hear that. All I will say is the only way to accomplish that now in this document would be to literally go through and catalog every plant that's there now and say, staying, going, staying, going. Which, I mean,
I think Brett wants to do that.
I got some free time. I'll meet you out there. I got 2 phones.
A lot of grapevine inventory.
Precisely.
You can make him wine.
On grapes. Anyway.
There's a way.
Noted.
And then what you said, so with the trees selected, the city say they need to cut another one. When you say city, I assume that's Brett would be informed that, hey, we've got to remove this tree, and then the administration would make a decision.
They would, you mean?
No, during construction.
Oh, during construction. I guess, I mean, I don't know.
We have spoken about that with, and you probably remember a couple meetings ago, the subject of the fence came up.
Yeah.
They're not removing the fence. If for some reason they do need to remove the fence, they would come to me to discuss whether we're going to then replace that fence or leave that open in that certain area. But yeah, we have a clear understanding from the markings where this is all going to take place, where the removals are. And they certainly do know the difference between that tree and the others that are being removed.
So, okay. Just to circle back, you would make the decision then, or be informed of the decision, and then.
When it comes to a tree situation there, we would be meeting with Dominic as well.
Forestry, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, because I trust you. I've worked with you, for a long time. I'm just thinking in general, right? When we talk about a director, they're given the latitude, as an example, by the elected official, in this case with the administration, which would be the mayor, to make those decisions without informing them, correct? So it's not like you're going to go and say, hey, this is what we're thinking, mayor.
When I know that I've been in front of this body, this many times, talked about specific markings on trees,
right,
but I know that at least the 2 of you and possibly the 3 of you have been out there walking this. I'm not gonna try and sneak one out. Now, if we have a Austrian pine that's like this, yes, but if we're talking about that oak there, that's a totally different subject. So yeah, this is a popular stretch here, if you will, and especially in that mode area that you're talking about down by Evergreen Cemetery. Yeah. And again, we walk this area with consumers. They are very clear.
I mean, if I may piggyback, I think that, personally, I've worked with Brett plenty of times, and I think I can think of all the different staff that we have throughout the whole city, and you have continued to keep your word and do the things that you say you're going to do. When I email you about something, you respond on weekends. So I am comfortable with you being the one that's safeguarding this until the construction. Have no issue with that. I appreciate your diligence on everything you do, including this project.
And I concur. I mean, you reached out to me, you asked multiple times if there are any questions leading up to these meetings, and you've been very responsive. So very much appreciate that. I understand directional boring as well. I'm a pipe fitter. We've done that time and time again. And I understand that if they have been out there on sites, designated trees where they know they can't get around, I don't see them, going to some 200-year-old tree and saying, oh, by the way, we missed this. This is what they do. They're professionals and we know what they're looking for.
Yep.
Do we have any more from the body?
Not for me.
No.
You have a hand.
Do you want to ask specifically for the record what the amendment to the resolution is going to be? Because you don't have it in writing in front of you, so that
Correct.
way you can make a motion if you choose today to approve the amended resolution. We'll know what that is.
I like that. Greg, could you provide that for us?
Yes. I don't know the exact words that I'm going to use. because I'm- Yeah, 2225. Yeah. I don't know the exact words that I'm going to use, but essentially, the current be it finally resolved will be a be it further resolved that the mayor, blah, blah, blah. And then be it finally resolved that from the proceeds, $2,225 shall be placed into, or be received into the cemetery enterprise fund. I've got to get the exact correct words to name that thing properly. Sure. I may even get an account number.
Should we just wait on the amended one until you have it in writing?
I'll
do it on the floor.
Or I was just, Sherry and I were passing notes on, I will have this by Friday morning so that
You
you all.
can take action
have it.
today and then, well, I'm not going to speak for law, but I believe you could probably take action today on this and then you could take action on a substitute Monday night.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, that's fine.
Is that fine? Or do you
I will say if it's very, and it is very clear, I think from the record that's been created, what you want it to say. I don't mind if you vote on that pending the final words, but I will get those words correct so that there's a be it finally resolved that describes the 2225 number of going to the cemetery enterprise fund.
And then just a quick question on the rest of the money. Is that going to go to Fenner or just into the
General fund.
General.
All right, Loretta, I see you had your hand up.
Just a couple of quick things. You've spoken to the fence not coming down. What about the whole brush line? Is that staying? The brush line from the Evergreen entrance to the center entrance?
Yeah, please.
So we've talked about that at previous meetings with some of that will come out. Most of that is grapevine. It is to clear visual line that they need to see during the construction of this. So yes, some of that brush will come out. Most of that, as determined by myself and Dominic, is grapevine.
And then secondly, I've worked with Brett for a long time too, and I have no qualms about his honesty and follow through. However, people don't stay in office forever. We know people come and go, they get elected, they get diselected, they retire. So just bear in mind that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, we have no clue who will be sitting in these chairs. So keep that in mind, please.
Right, but I think the whole.
And I think that, yeah, and that
during construction.
exactly.
You're not going anywhere anytime soon, are you?
Yeah. These days are numbered. I'm way closer to the end than I am to the beginning.
Ditto.
I'll be here for a long time, maybe. Maybe.
Okay. So
But yeah, I think that's the easement language that is in there, and we've made those adjustments to that for the future.
Well, I appreciate the advocacy from everybody that's took their time to be here, multiple meetings, for their work on this, city attorney, and for your work and follow through, Brett, Parks Director. So do we have any further comments or?
No, so what I would do is move I would say amended Act 3/2025 resolution, understanding that there's some language that needs to be finalized between now and Monday's meeting.
Okay, so we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Perfect. Okay, and that will go to Monday, the 17th.
You want me there?
Yeah, if you're able to.
I hate to do it to you, like you guys so much.
You've been spending way too much time around here. Foster's been missing you. I mean, you're waving at me in the car while I'm walking.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, moving down to our final agenda item. Well, maybe. Resolution G, setting a public hearing, payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot for Pine Brook Manor, 5911 South Waverly Road.
Jesse, this is Aaron. I forgot to pass these out. made in our discussion. I think that there are.
Okay, sure.
Are you here for this one too? Oh, okay.
Oh.
If this is the last one, the pilot for Pine Brook? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You can wanted to sit at the table if you wanted. Charles will.
Charles, that's why. Yeah.
Bye, Bob.
Take care.
Hi, Joanne.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Summer. Great. Well, good afternoon.
Afternoon. We are here to talk about the acquisition of Pine Brook Manor. So again, I'm Jesse, this is Aaron. We're with a company called Standard Communities. You can flip to, I believe it's the second page here of the handout. Bunch of different facts about our company. Really, it's summarized in this is what we do. We specialize in acquiring affordable housing, but I think the thing that we take most pride in is renovating it and turning these assets into something that all the communities that been in become proud of. It's something that they can, the properties become true assets to the communities. I have a number of ties to Michigan, so this is super exciting to me. I spent 4 years in college here, have vacationed a lot in the state. So as our company's expanded, this has been super exciting for me personally. And Pine Brook is one of actually 4 properties that we're under contract currently on throughout the state. So have a lot of relationships throughout state agencies such as MISTA, and again, have experience doing this. So that brings us here to talk about Pine Brook. On page 4 of the handout, overview of property. So it's a 136 unit Section 8 property in the southwest corner of the city. Our plan is to acquire it and complete an extensive renovation of it, just short of $13 million. We're currently budgeting $12.9 million in rehab. For anyone that's familiar with the property, it's time for that to happen. I think actually on the next page are some photos of current state that we've seen during our diligence. So again, it's probably overdue. The rehab that we're contemplating is all encompassing. So exteriors from all new windows, roofs, site lighting to interiors, all new, yeah, you name it. Stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, LVP flooring throughout the units. The units will be really nice. So we are planning for a dramatic before and after, which we're excited about. I think one thing to note is that we have an affiliate general contractor, but we'll be, and we are planning to bid this out to local subs. So our team here, as we expand, has a lot of familiarity with Michigan market. So it'll be important to us to do as much work as we can with local groups. One other piece as far as the rehab too, the site doesn't have extensive amenities. There's a clubhouse that contains a fitness center, but we're gonna touch that up, and then also add a new playground. It's a family property, so a lot of kids, and then also add a barbecue area for the residents to enjoy. General timing on this is we are on track to close in February of 2026, so in just a handful of months, just right around the corner. If we go to pages 7 and 8, these really just give a sense of before and after of a few of other properties that we've purchased and renovated. So I think on the second one, the Washington DC project, you get a sense of the unit interiors. A big thing for us, hence the name Standard Communities, we really take pride in these becoming kind of setting a standard and these units being really nice, comparable to market rate properties. The rehab is not skimped on. And again, we don't expect and are not planning for Pine Brook to be different. It'll be high quality. Page 9 is really why we're here, transitioning over to the pilot. So my understanding is folks here are probably quite familiar with the concept, but these transactions are really difficult to do without a pilot. Here in particular, and I don't have to speak to it because Charles knows it better than me, but in the event taxes become uncapped, the financing just becomes essentially infeasible for lender or investor, as that tax burden just becomes extremely large. And if it were to be uncapped, it would be a very difficult transaction for us to undertake. But then more specifically, a really large rehab that we're contemplating is impossible without that. So the spirit of what we're proposing of this agreement is to hold the city harmless essentially for tax revenues that they've received to date. So again, in working with Charles, understanding and all we can do is estimate, right, what 2026 taxes will be. But the spirit of the agreement is estimating 2026 taxes, setting our pilot proposal at the rate that's more or less equal to that number, so that the city receives the same amount in this case, pilot revenue, tax revenue, not ad valorem taxes, but that the city is held harmless. And then on top of that, though, of course, the property is fully renovated, so all residents win too. So it's a win in our book and from our perspective, all around. So yeah, in closing, we're really excited about the opportunity to acquire it, the renovation, and we take great pride in doing this, and would love to answer any and all questions as it pertains to the project or the proposal.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that high level overview. So what I'm seeing here, am I correct? Is this a 6.6% pilot over 45 years?
That's right.
Have we done anything that long before?
How long is it?
45
years.
Yes.
And I know that property definitely needs some work. Had a few family members lived there over the years. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So Charles English, Deputy Assessor. I just wanted to make one correction to your memo. And I don't know if they were able to get the correction to you beforehand, but on the memo, second page, third paragraph from the bottom, it states that the assessing department provided a tax impacts assessment statement, which includes an appendix, but mainly it says the proposed agreement does not include a deduction of utilities at this time. Initially, when they structured this pilot as a 6% pilot, the developer thought that we could do it such where we did not exclude utilities. Well, by statute, you have to exclude utilities from shelter rent. You have to do that. You just can't, amend the law. So that's why it's now a 6.6% pilot. That 6% captures the utilities being deducted so that we can maintain that same amount of taxes that we were receiving the pilot that we would have received in 2026. Now, it is good to note this, that because they're applying for, or they're going to purchase this in 2026, there will not be an uncapping until 2027, and the pilot will not go into effect until 2027. If they were to purchase it, if that pilot was not in effect in 2027, they would see that their taxes would double from 148,000 to almost 300,000 for their annual tax burden. That's why they're hence applying for this.
This says 2026.
Yeah, 2026 is what we used because I can't project out that far.
No. The start date on this document says 1/1 of 26. You're saying it's 27?
It would have to be 27. Their proposed purchase date is February of 26.
And I think that was because there was a question about when they were going to actually close on the property.
Okay.
And when the pilot ordinance might pass. I will say, I remember reviewing that when I was reviewing the pilot ordinance. The ordinance has the start date as tax year 2027.
Okay.
One ordinance should be in there too, probably near the back.
And
after all the.
may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
To the assessor's office, in their booklet here, it projects that we'll be getting more taxes in 30 years. Well, it projects every year we're going to be making more in taxes than we are now on this property. Are these realistic projections on this property?
Well, it's impossible to project out that. Like, I can't even project out to 2027 because I can't foresee an inflation rate. I can't tell you what the inflation rate for 2027 is, so I can't tell you what taxes would be. I can only go by what we're seeing now, and we're seeing roughly a 3% per year. This I think is a little aggressive, what they're showing as the increase in taxes. And they're looking at assessment or their taxable value rather. I think that would, and actually in the very next year, it's just year 5, 167. That's not really reflecting, 167 is not what the taxable value would be. I mean, their taxable value just for 2026 or 2027, if it were to uncap, would be roughly 300,000. So there would be a lot of over this year. I don't want to say it's not reflecting the actual growth because of the uncapping. That uncapping would take that first year up to 300,000, and then you see a progressive, inflation rate from that point forward. You saw that smaller increase, but the initial jump would be much higher than 167.
If I could clarify, you beat me to it because this is one thing I missed. The chart is actually showing in the situation where the property doesn't sell, so it stays as is as of today. And then the top line is the proposed pilot. So this, to be clear, does not contemplate the uncapping. Difference in the growth rates are the blue line within a pilot. The pilot is a function of rents, and historically from our portfolio, they've grown around 3% per year. To Charles' point, it's not going to be 3% every single year, but historically that's what it's been. And all we did for the bottom line was take the last 15 years of growth on average for the taxes as is, and they've grown 1.4%. So it's just a comparison using 1.4% versus the 3%. To his point, we don't know what it's going to be, but the spirit is just that the city, is held harmless as the.
So it sounds like what you're telling me is just to start with, the taxes will jump because the cap's going to come off just like anybody buying a new property, and then it'll go from that point.
They're basing their pilot based on the 2026 estimate.
No, I know that, but you're saying that the cap is going to come off before.
In 27.
Yeah, so the value, the property tax would go up significantly.
Significantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless the pilot.
If the property, yeah, right. If the pilot's in place, it won't.
Okay, that was the part I was confused about.
And absent of a transfer of ownership, I do agree with you that this projection does look more accurate.
And then the Lake Park Crescent and the Washington, those two properties that you have listed in here, does Illinois or Washington DC have a similar program that you used?
Illinois has an affordable housing abatement, but it's not a pilot. So they changed their percent of the assessment if you qualify.
Did this property qualify?
Lake Park Crescent, I'm actually not sure off the top of my head. I might be able to pull it up now. I do not recall.
You mentioned that you have 4 properties in Michigan. What are the other cities?
Roseville is one of them. Detroit is a separate one, another one, and then in Dearborn.
Have you started work on those or?
Yeah, well, they're in similar times as far as the acquisition process. So we haven't, acquired them. Work as in going through the due diligence, working through the, requested pilots, et cetera, but no construction, if that's what you're referring to.
Also Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo, yeah, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, there is a property that I alluded to that we closed last year. That one is under development. So there's 4 in the pipeline and 1 closed. That one, to Aaron's point, is being worked on.
Yes, sir.
And I have recently inspected this property, and I will say that there is a great deal of deferred maintenance. It is in need of rehabilitation. And the people there, they are in need of low-income housing. So this would satisfy some of that for the city. And it would really improve that area, having that rehabilitated.
So with the construction of this property, would there be any residents displaced?
As of right now, we're currently contemplating all tenant in place. So the way that we've done it, we'll have a few vacants when we close. Those vacant units will be turned into hospitality units where they'll spend the day, but they can return to their unit every night. And within 10 days is the average, but 10 to 14 days, 10 to 14 business days, their units will be returned, finished, they'll be moved back in. So it's kind of a, yeah, just a constant move around the property. Be during, in the hospitality space during the day, and then they'll return to their.
So you won't be turning entire buildings at one time.
It's funny because our schedule is under, is being put together literally as we speak. Excuse me, I think that the way that they'll do it is they will make their way around individual buildings.
Right.
Most likely. It's gonna depend on where those vacant units are though, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Depends.
All right.
But I'll have an answer in the next probably 2 weeks of just kind of as building by building what they're thinking.
On this property, this is a question for the assessor's office. Was there a pilot prior to this that created this property?
No.
So it wasn't a pilot property. Is there gonna be a change in rent from now until and this might be a question for you guys, from what they're paying now to this pilot?
There will be. So HUD recently approved what the rents will be after we close, which are determined essentially by the post-rehab condition. So again, talk me through what these renovation specifics are. That determines by way of what the market bears, what the new rents will be. So yes.
But are you asking on behalf of residents? Like, does rents change for residents?
Yes, the people that are there.
No, they will not change. So under this program, under the project-based Section 8 contract that the property has, tenants pay 30% of their adjusted income, no matter what. And so the idea is that with this new kind of transaction, we will be extending that process by 20 to 30 years, 20 at the federal level, and then 30 at the state and local level for the extending the affordability. But that will continue to be the case. So if a resident, the only thing that changes a resident's rent is if their income changes. So they come and certify every year. But yeah, assuming nothing changes for them, their rent won't change after.
And then the two properties that you have in your pamphlet, is Rich Homes an affordable?
They're both 100% Section 8 affordable.
They're both 100% Section.
Same way that Pine Brook Manor is. Those are like kind of direct similar comps.
Both acquisitions are rehab projects, right?
Yes, that is.
I think the earlier question obviously was trying to get after, if I may, were you able to pull this off in other communities without the type of incentive you're requesting from this community? And were those communities able to pull in, as an example, ad valorem taxes from you all? So I think it's a question for merit.
Yep. Conveniently or not, my computer just died. Understood. I'll be able to.
So yeah, so we'll need to know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And I assume 6.6 is the number that makes this affordable for you as a developer, correct? Anything higher would not work. Oh, we're just sitting.
What's that?
We're just sitting.
And one more thing, if I'm mistaken, Greg, we can't set the pilot higher than what they're already paying in taxes, correct? I don't think we can collect on a pilot more than what the current tax load is.
Well, not the correct, except for the uncapping in this instance.
Except for the.
If it was the owner coming before the council and requesting a pilot in order to do renovations, that's correct. The way the statute is written, it's whatever the payment in lieu is, or whatever the ad valorem is, whichever is lower. Because we did have one, this is decades ago, but we had one where the service charge is calculated under 10% of shelter rents ended up being higher than the ad valorem, and so they ended up just paying their ad valorem taxes that year. So yes, correct.
And then I guess one more question to the assessor's office. If we're looking at this property and it was to stay as is versus 45 years of the pilot, how much tax revenue would we be losing out on?
Yeah, that's 45 years. Yeah, I agree with Jennifer with their,
I assume it would be a significant number.
a significant number of what? Of what we would lose?
Correct.
For 45 years.
Yeah, but that would be, I mean, there's so many factors involved in that, because right now we're talking about a purchase.
Yeah.
If they don't purchase it, we're then stuck at that 3%, that rate of inflation. That's it. And so could they see changes in the amount that they pay in pilot? Yeah, it could. And could that affect the monies that the city receives? Yes, it's all dependent on what the shelter rent that they collect is.
Yeah.
And if their rent goes up and they're collecting more shelter rent, we're going to see more revenue come in. So it's hard to predict what you're saying, what you're asking.
We also can't tell what's gonna happen in the market for the next.
Yeah,
Or we would have much better jobs.
And that's, and frankly, that's why as decision makers, we get such heartburn when we're asked to approve 45-year pilots. I mean, this is a substantial request, and I certainly hope that you guys understand that.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is that anything less than 6.6 approved by this body, so obviously you're not willing to move forward with a 10% by right, that you would not acquire the property. Is that correct? Okay.
If I may ask the assessor's office, do you know off the top of your head how many active pilots we have right now?
I can't tell you. I do all the pilots, but there's
Maybe.
No, it's more like 30. I can send you an email.
Yeah, shoot me an email with that number. I would be curious to see how many pilots we have right now.
And I can break it down to you how many pilots are at the 10%, 6%.
Okay. Yes, yeah, please. Send to all of us. I would.
Yeah, and then I'll make sure that council has it before, if you can get it, do you think you'd have it to me before Monday?
I'll have it to you tomorrow.
Perfect, then I can get it out to council.
More of you.
And get it out to council before Monday night when they set the hearing, because I'm sure that's a question that they'll all have.
We're sitting hearing.
Actually, I might be able to come up with that right now. 31 pilots.
If we could give the breakdown like you were talking about and the email to everybody, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the number.
Thank you.
Yeah, so should you acquire, obviously moving forward, it's incredibly important that, we're not deferring maintenance past initial, rehab and things of that nature. But one of the most important things with regard to Pine Brook, I don't live too far from Pine Brook. Grew up hanging out at Pine Brook. A lot of my friends lived at Pine Brook. They have had substandard management for a very, very long time. And sometimes what you could say absentee management, right? So no on-site presence of management. What's the vision for management moving forward?
Yeah, it's something that we were very focused on as it became apparent to us pretty quickly as well. We are working with, I think the largest, I'll double check this, but the largest property manager in Michigan, KMG, who has a very good reputation with MISHDA and manages a lot throughout Lansing. So we expect that to change, and that will change. I think the other thing I would say is that I don't believe that current ownership is too close. We have a regional office in Chicago where I am, and I spend a lot of time in Michigan. So we are truly a call, email away where we're very hands-on, I guess is the point. So there won't be issues where it'll look very different.
Okay.
And then I have one more question. Everybody that's here from the companies, it's Standard Communities, right?
Right.
Does anyone live locally?
In Michigan?
Yes.
No.
I was hoping Lansing, but Michigan, so nobody in Michigan. Chicago, I'm assuming, is the closest.
When would I don't have the rest. When would the public hearing be?
It's
December
17th.
December 8th.
We'll set it on the
Yep.
17th.
That's just kind of how the meetings are falling. They only need 5 days, but you go 17th and your next one's the 8th.
I moved to.
So in front of council, the presentation would be.
December 8th?
Yes.
Well, that's what,
Yeah, definitely.
recently, that's when you're having them come.
Will you guys be available on the 8th?
Awesome.
7 o'clock in the council chambers there. And I will have copies of these, so if you update this for any reason, just go ahead and get it.
Resolution.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes. Okay.
National holiday.
We will see you on December 8th. Thank you very much.
Very much.
And now, before we close the meeting, there's a appointment of Selena Mate Has she showed up yet?
Okay.
November 24th.
Thank you.
But she'll still get it then for the end of the year. I'll reach out to her again.
See no further items on before us. We are adjourned at 4:45.
I just realized that we have a meeting on my birthday.